Good morning. It's Monday, January 15th, 2024. I'm Thomas Caldwell of the Aurelian Column, and this is the Monday Morning Report. Well, today is yet another holiday, Martin Luther King Day, where Americans celebrate the federal holiday celebrating the birth of the late civil rights leader. Here in Virginia, it's also Lobby Day down in Richmond. That's when the Citizens Defense League, the Virginia Citizens Defense League, does what it can to protect Second Amendment rights here in the Commonwealth. This is something they do every year and have been doing every year for quite some time. You may recall back in January of 2020, January 20th, 2020, some 150,000 people from around the country descended on Virginia's capital, most of whom were heavily armed. I was there as well. I wasn't in the center of town. I was outside the immediate area. There were about 35,000 people downtown, about 25,000 people in the beltway sort of setup that the highway has down there, and I was one of those. I was on standby in case something went wrong, and a lot of people were concerned that something would go wrong, that something bad would happen. And if anybody says they went into Richmond that day and they weren't concerned about something bad happening, it means they weren't there. But around there was a substantial number of people who had been gathering at all of the shopping centers and parking lots and what have you. It was a massive, massive number of people. I think the largest number of armed anybody that had descended on an American city since the Civil War. No shots were fired. No one was hurt. One person was arrested for wearing a mask. This is just before COVID. In fact, I do believe that was the same day they found the first case of COVID in the United States, and we all know what happened after that. A funny story, prior to the legislature changing the laws in Virginia about carrying firearms in the buildings, if you attended Lobby Day, which I had done, you would often be carrying a sidearm and going through a metal detector. And it was kind of funny because you'd be carrying a gun legally and openly into a state building, and then they would ask you to take your keys out of your pockets and your phone and put it in a tray and have it go through the X-ray. Never did figure that out. They don't do that anymore, but it was kind of funny at the time. One of the coincidences, it always falls on Martin Luther King Day, Lobby Day, but this is something that was told to me on a webcast I was on the other night with a conservative black activist, and he's a bit of a Martin Luther King historian, and he pointed out that King was not a pacifist. In fact, he was a gun guy. He had a fair selection of firearms, and the story goes that one of the reasons he got into the civil rights movement, because he was turned down for a gun permit to carry a concealed weapon, and that was probably what pushed him over the edge, or part of what did. But it is a myth that he was a pacifist. He was a believer in non-violence when it came to protesting, but he was a gun guy. Strange but true. Now, the big question people have been emailing about, yes, Gonzalo Lira, the late Gonzalo Lira. It did not feel good when I heard the news. I have been spending a fair bit of time this weekend writing up a very extensive piece, which may be out later today when I think I'm pretty much finished with it. I just want to, go over it a few more times. Writers are like that. The thing I will mention about the man is that if you notice up on the Substack channel, I did put the entire 2-hour video that I grabbed, and that's because I think YouTube is going to take his stuff down. His Wikipedia page disappeared and then came back. He's an embarrassment and in death, much more than in life. The thing I will say this, though, is I did do some independent research, and I did get some very reliable sources, and that's all I'm going to say who they are, but very reliable sources who pretty much verified Lira's narrative from the 2-hour, just under 2-hour video that is up on the Substack channel in my Substack, AurelianColumn.substack.com, which you're familiar with if you're receiving this. There will be more I will be reporting over time on that, but just about everything up there could be verified independently. The only thing that I wasn't able to get verified is the number of times Joe Biden visited Ukraine. When he was vice president, Mr. Lira pointed out a significant number. I do not have the ability to verify that, but other stuff that was on that video was verified by sources who would know. A line's been crossed, people. A line has been crossed. Somebody reporting on news overseas has been killed for his efforts, who happens to be an American citizen. And yes, he was an American citizen. He was born in California. The Middle East situation is getting worse. All eyes are on Yemen. A report just coming in as I began to record this is that an American flag merchant ship has been damaged. Details are still sketchy. Again, it's an American flagship. It wasn't a naval ship. It was a merchant. There's not much news. That situation is getting out of hand, and it's not because the local countries want it to go out of hand. It's because they're being pushed in that direction. Now, other news here. Europeans, this is, I think, more important. Europeans seem to be fighting back, finally. The farmers' protests in Germany has been going on for a while, but we also have the French are finally taking to the streets because they're sick of their streets being taken over by what is quite literally foreign invaders. Now, of course, the Marxist liberal media, which is what it's become, has been labeling them all right-wing extremists. No, they're not. They are citizens of a nation that is sick and tired of seeing their country overrun at the behest of their government, overrun by foreign nationals who really have no business being there. The diversity insanity has proven to be untenable. Canada to our north, a country that was once very peaceful, peaceful to the point of making jokes about it being peaceful, is now turning into a hellhole in the name of diversity. You can't make this up of how insane everything is going. It's almost as if, and I don't see any other explanation, the people who are heading up our countries, including the United States, just want to see them destroyed. Our border is completely wide open. Millions of people have flooded into the United States. I look out my window in my office and I see people from other countries milling around a convenience store looking for work or whatever. This cannot be sustained. And the people of Europe are now waking up, and they're appearing to fight back. It's very hard reporting this because at one point in our history, things made sense. They might not have been smart, they might have been kind of stupid, but they somewhat made sense. None of this makes any sense. The last thing I'll mention is I wasn't going to get into this, but people have been asking about it, is the tunnel story in New York at the synagogue. I don't think anybody really knows what's going on there. There's been so much contradictory information. There have been so many different reports, and the memes that have been produced over there that may or may not be based in any fact, I won't go there. My understanding is that whole situation has now been filled in with cement, quite literally. But the only way that they're going to find out what that was about is if the New York City government, the police, or whomever decide to investigate it, which may not be happening. I just have this question. Who dug those tunnels? Something tells me it wasn't the people in the synagogue. They don't come across, at least one of the videos I saw, of the sort of people who'd be going out and grabbing shovels and crawling into holes and digging tunnels. What did you do with the dirt, too? That's the thing. If you've ever read stories about people escaping from prisons or something, one of the big problems was how to get rid of the dirt, how to get rid of the soil without calling attention to it. When you dig something up, and you make a tunnel, you got to put the dirt someplace. So who dug the tunnels and where did the dirt go? That would be interesting to find out. and it might lead to some answers about that. But I think it's New York, and New York is just as crazy as any place. And also, New York is honeycombed with tunnels. I mean, they have tunnels. You could do science fiction movies about the tunnels there. In fact, they're still looking for the original subway, which was the pneumatic tube. They don't know where that is. That's still somewhere deep in the bowels of Manhattan, and they can't find it. I believe it was actually the brunt of one of the jokes in the earlier Ghostbusters movies. It's a very strange city, New York. And unless there's more information, I really don't know what to report on that. Okay, now we're kind of going to have a short report because I do have to get on with this Gonzalo Lira feature. Again, it will probably be coming out later today. I do want to ask something. This is the beginning of the year, and I have been getting more and more subscribers. Quite a few people started subscribing after I uploaded that 2-hour video of Lira. But if you really like what I'm doing, please subscribe. Please like and subscribe, and please consider a paid subscription. With all the things that are coming down this year, I really would like to spend much more time doing this. I have gotten a lot of subscribers lately, and if half of you paid the $5 a month or something similar, it would be pretty good. It would free up my time a lot, and I think I'm better suited to doing this than I am most other things. And with what's ahead this year, it's not going to be the best of years. And I think we're going to need as many good reports. And I don't mean good as in pleasant, I mean good as in accurate reports of what's going on. I'm here at your service if you want me. But please go to my page and subscribe. Please share the links. If you like the Gonzalo Lira story that will be going out later, please share that as well. The more subscribers I have, the better it gets. Okay, well, that being said, I would like to thank you for all of your kind notes that you gave over the last week after Mr. Lira's passing. Yes, it does hit you kind of personal when you've taken a personal interest in a story like that and tried to get people to act. The one thing I will say, though, is when I was living as an expatriate overseas, which is where expatriates live, when I was living as an expatriate, I got to really respect the U.S. Foreign Service. In fact, I got to love some of the guys in there. They were real professional. No matter what, they would come to your aid. If you had a problem, they would do their best. They were some of the finest Americans I've ever known in my life. And because of what happened to Mr. Lira, I've lost all faith in them. They're certainly not what they were. And you'll be seeing that when you read my story. But the U.S. State Department has definitely failed. And that's sad because that's one of the things that we had that really that was doing pretty well, at least in the latter part of the 20th century. That's all for today. Thank you. Be good. Be vigilant. Be careful. And good day.